Where does that mail-order mattress of yours go if you return it? This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett. Find us every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. live here on YouTube or Facebook Live. And, of course, focusgroupradio.com is our site, and that's where you'll find all the information about us and our show, including our Tuesday podcast called Unbuttoned, released on Tuesdays. And, of course, this show in video and audio form, available also as a podcast, is there as well. Welcome to the new week. I got a word for everybody.
What is it?
It's learning time. It's a phrase, actually. It's a Latin phrase. And this is for the boys in the booth. We have Garrett on audio. We have Steve on video. And we have Luba in the background working there. All right, here's the phrase. Force majeure.
Force major.
Well, do you know what a force majeure is?
A major force.
But actually, the Latin, it means a force of nature, or, loosely translated in legal terms, an act of God. Out of your control.
So when you buy a house,
if lightning hits it before you sign the paper, it's a force majeure. It's out of everybody's control, right?
what is this for?
Well, I bring up force majeure because things happen without planning. A force majeure would be coronavirus, right? Out of our hands. It's a force of nature. We can't control. It's going to do what it's going to do, right?
Well, media is a problem with it. What you and I talked about this at lunch. What happened to the Zika fly? Remember the Zika?
SARS, avian bird flu, MERS.
Get Zika?
Remember the Zika fly? Remember the Zika?
Zika fly. I think it was like a mosquito, but there was some like Southern Yahoo senator. Zika fly. Zika fly.
Look, I don't mean to downplay coronavirus, but talk about a force majeure that could very well alter the trajectory of the elections in November.
Well, it's shut down Asia. So Ford Motor Company
All
just
supply
announced
chains, right?
Right, all non-essential travel. South by Southwest have canceled a number of things. They were talking about the Geneva Auto Show closed. They were talking about whether the Olympics will take place.
And the Japanese had an interesting response to that.
Close schools for a month.
The Japanese, the Olympic Committee in Japan, or at least the Japanese version, was like, well, the rule is the Olympics have to happen in 2020, but it could be later in the year. So they might postpone the Olympics from July to a safer time. But no, force majeure, it's all this, but the media is cranking this up. I'm not going to go the route of the fake news crap and everything, but let's just say that I was watching the evening news last night, NBC. The news finished, and I said, Bob, please call 911. I'm clearly having a heart attack, or I can't breathe, but it was all panic, fear, panic, fear, panic, fear, panic, fear. And then there was a little human interest story at the end about a dog or something. You're like, oh, there's a little bright spot right there. But
No, the network evening news, whether it's ABC, CBS, NBC,
all the same.
The first 3 minutes, there's news. Each story, as dire or as important as it is about 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then you go to a prostate commercial or some sort of other cholesterol drug commercial. And you come back, and there's a little bit of politic and a little bit of pop stuff, and then there's a feel-good story at the end. And
this past week was the tornadoes down south,
which got no coverage.
Well, NBC rolled, so they did all their thing, dun, 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 with the drum beat, dun, 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 like, oh my God, the market drops, this happens, that happens. And I said to Bob, they better lead with the tornado. I mean, it's a horrible thing, but that's news. That's actual news. Tornado comes through. And they had one guy on that was really kind of scary. He took his baby or his son out of the top floor of their house. He said, as I'm going down the steps, I look up, and he literally saw the roof get sucked right off the house.
Wow.
Could you imagine that? I said to Bob, why don't they dwell on, I would rather hear more of those stories, more of Survivor. I went into the bathtub. I went to the, how they survived or something.
Yeah, but I do hate when a hurricane comes to Florida and it's, nonstop of the idiots. What's his name? Cuomo's big on that. The guy from CNN.
Oh.
Is it Andrew?
Well, Andrew's our government.
Whoever the son is. he's out there and he's, the wind's coming and he's showing his little muscle shirt and the hurricane's coming and he's sitting in water. And
My favorite was the hurricane coverage. It was like a year or two ago, and someone is outside with the hood up and they're holding the thing, and someone literally walks by behind them in sandals with a little bag,
Sure.
and nothing's happening. And they're looking at the camera like, it's really picking up down here, and they stroll by with a Target bag.
it's the famous one on
Or the water was
with the idiot on the Today Show. This was probably 10, 15 years ago.
not Al Roker.
And she's paddling. She's in a canoe. They've got her in a canoe on some main street in Georgia or something.
Flooding.
And the flooding is so bad. She's paddling in a circle, and you're like, oh my God, you see the street sign. And then somebody walks through right behind her.
With this much water.
Literally, yeah, she was in about 6 inches of water in her canoe. Fake news.
Well, it's not hard to see how that happened. So as the news was playing, then they go to the Wall Street, and Tuesday was a sickening. So Monday was a big up, 2 points up or 2% up. Then Tuesday was a sickening fall again.
I didn't even look at any.
Oh, don't even bother.
Did you look?
I
know you looked.
I did. Everything's fine. Here's the deal. If you're in the market if you're going to be in the market for longer than the next 5 to 10 years, just don't worry about it. If you're invested and if you're saving money, it's all going to be fine.
Can't
Because
touch it anyway.
historically, the line is up. Historically, there's dips. So they're talking about the panic on Wall Street. They show red numbers flashing. And Bob goes, what's going on? I said, here's what's going on. The market is pricing in the notion that the interconnected global supply chain is going to be disrupted. And no one really knows what that disruption means because we've never really had a disruption quite like this before. I mean, things happen. I said, so the market's just pricing that into now corporate earnings are going to be a little different than they thought they were in January. Bob goes, oh. He goes, well, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
That's not news. That's not newsworthy.
But it doesn't get you the hook like you're going to lose all your money.
I have a neighbor who's 81, 82 years old, and she's concerned because
She's got
obviously
her-
she
yeah.
uses that to live on. So I get that. But you're right. If you're invested in it, you're for the long term, it usually corrects itself.
But, we don't usually get political, but let's just say this. The current administration and the current president hooks their success directly to the stock market. So unless that market recovers the 5.8 trillion or 5 trillion that was wiped off the books last week in that constant decline, think of that something like $5 trillion wiped away. Depending on how you feel about that and where the market's at and the rate cut that just happened, whatever, you may reconsider your. If the pocketbook drives the voting, I wonder what the economy will be like later on.
Well, yesterday was Super Tuesday. It was a big night for Mr. Biden.
Surprise, surprise. He really pulled it out, right?
Yeah, I was. I think a lot of people were surprised or shocked after his big win in South Carolina. It's certainly because he had very little money. Didn't have a big ground game like some of the other competitors.
You even noted that he had no office in
Had nothing in
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
And yet
and
he
ended up
won
winning.
Massachusetts.
And poor Elizabeth Warren, her home state, she comes in third.
Hey, who was the guy that I think he is he in the Senate, that she ran against, or he ran against her, and he was the one that would drive around in his pickup truck, really good looking guy. He was a senator for a while.
Yeah.
That was under the Obama administration.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but you're right. I remember him.
So a little tidbit about how Wall Street thinks about this. Super Tuesday yielded this morning. I always check something called the Dow Futures, which is trading, right before the Dow opens. It was up like 700 points. And one Barron's, I think, said the market is much happier that Joe Biden might be on the top of the ticket as opposed to Bernie Sanders. And literally, it's right there. The numbers are like, okay, the Dow.
Free. Sanders.
Yeah, hey, look, we were watching some of that.
I'm shocked that Bloomberg had zero traction other than American Samoa. And
they made a big thing about that.
right.
Which is,
and I'm also, but listen, first of all, what a great gig. If you're American Samoa or you're Guam or you're the Marianas Islands or whatever, it's like being a second or third rate royal.
I've been heard that
because you have all the benefits without the aggravation, right? So it's like being a second or third rate royal. Part of the U.S. I'm out here in the ocean. I'm closer to New Zealand. I don't have to deal with all the nonsense. I'm in a different time zone.
the Marianas Islands.
But I got Uncle Sam's taking care of me. So you got the military, you got the whole deal. I don't know why we don't visit these places.
Well, now that you brought them up, I haven't heard the name Marianas Islands for like years.
Well, the Marshall Islands, we've got a lot of territories.
And they're protectorates, right?
Well, see, like Puerto Rico has a different status than I think
Yes, much
American
different, yeah.
Samoa. But when I read the definitions, I still don't understand the difference between a territory and a protectorate,
yeah.
or a commonwealth or whatever.
Puerto Rico's a territory, right?
And it's a commonwealth too, I think.
Yeah.
But it's always very confusing when I read the definitions, and I don't think I'm a total moron, but when I look at it, I'm like, well, what's the difference? But I do think some of these islands have a pretty good gig. Now, I looked at American Samoa last night, and they're upset because Western Samoa changed their name. So Western Samoa is an independent country, was part of New Zealand. They got their independence from New Zealand. They decided to change their name to Samoa. And American Samoa is upset because they think there's going to be confusion.
But American
They
Samoa
were
is
Western
just
Samoa.
American Samoa.
American Samoa, and there was Western Samoa. I get there.
I got to get to
Pogo,
those.
pogo.
I got to get to those town meetings there, right? Because lots of stuff going on in the Samoan Islands, right?
Well, one pundit last night had the best line. I wonder what tipped them to Bloomberg. Just getting the TV.
I could not. We switched into the Super Tuesday coverage like for a blip, and Chuck Todd was standing at this board with pie charts. Who voted? I wish I had seen the pie chart for the Samoan, because it would have been like one big Bloomberg thing, right? Like
Wonder what tipped him. He and Tulsi
pushed him over.
Tulsi
the,
got
Tulsi
a
Gabbard,
delegate. Putin sent her one.
Putin sent her a delegate. Yeah.
Tulsi.
Oh my God. All right. So what did we learn so far? Super Tuesday, we learned the term force majeure, which is in most contracts, by the way.
And I'm confused. I asked you this. I didn't realize the whole Chris Matthews thing.
Oh boy.
I love Hardball. I love Chris Matthews.
Boy, did that spiral up
A lot of people
fast.
don't, I guess.
So
But
last week
I guess it was another Me Too, or the alleged Me Too.
wasn't it last week or literally the week before where there was rumblings of someone accusing him of being aggressive on an interview? I don't think it had.
He said something about how come I haven't fallen in love with you, or how come.
Yeah.
And they would flirt or something, but.
And then a lot of people took offense at a comment he made. He was reading a book about the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany.
Right.
Now, it was the Nazi Party prior to Hitler's actual ascension, whatever. And he was talking about how that party just rolled right along and gained seats in elections and did the brown shirt, did all that stuff. But it came out in a funny way, because he said it was like Bernie Sanders' win in Iowa. He compared it to the Nazi parties
all of a sudden you're here,
sweeping
right.
through Germany. But all of a sudden, because no one cares about nuance anymore, it was all about Bernie. Chris Matthews called Bernie Sanders a Nazi or something like that, right? And that was one of the things. So according to what I read, the MSNBC brass got on a train or a plane, and a bunch of them went down to D.C., and there was a big, long meeting.
Really?
And they're all like, here's how this is going to go down. You could either retire, or you're going to get fired. So it's A and B were retire, and C was...
No, he's 74.
70. He's had a great run. He had a great run. I know he could have gone on for 7 or 8 more years.
Well, they said he wanted to retire after the election. That was his plan anyway.
Oh, so he's only a few months out, but he wanted to get through the election.
He wanted to get through the election because it's what he lives for.
Hey, we're at lunch, and Tim told me something that I have to keep in mind, and that is that your training when you were in corporate America was here, and I do this. I'm guilty of this because it's a compliment.
You're nice. You're being nice and you're being conversational. But
give the example that you gave me.
So if you said to somebody, if you have 2 female coworkers sitting there and you liked one of the coworkers' earrings, for instance, said, "Oh, those are really pretty earrings," or "That's a nice necklace you have on." The other person, the other female that didn't get the compliment, immediately could say to HR, "Oh, so, there's Susie and Jane, and John complimented Jane's earrings, and then all of a sudden she got a promotion. I didn't get a promotion. I guess I didn't wear the right earrings, or I guess I didn't wear the right necklace, or I didn't wear the right makeup." And I have a friend who got in trouble with this recently. I said, "You need to keep your mouth shut. You can't compliment one woman's makeup or her pantyhose." "Well, I was just, she doesn't mind." I said, so our rule was you don't say a thing. I didn't compliment anybody. You don't compliment anything. Now, as you're friends with people, there's one thing. Karen and Alan and I would go back and forth, and Mary Alicia was something different. But just in the terms of in the office, I would never say you got a new haircut. I would never say notice you got new shoes. Nothing. It's better to not say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you told me the story, I processed it, and I thought, wow, I've been guilty of, like, I guess in that context.
But it's not, but it's what you said, the nuance of, oh, you have pretty cool earrings. You weren't meaning that the other woman didn't have whatever, but that's how it was taken. Listen, I was blamed that time, I told you, for discrimination when some woman went and said I only hire men because I hired two people, Norman and Tony. And so she went to HR and filed a complaint because she interviewed and said, I only hired men. And HR listens and listens and listens and says, do you know who he hired? Yeah, he hired two men. She said, no, Tony's a female.
Yeah.
Antoinette. Wait? They waited to let her go right down the road. And they said, her name is Antoinette. Her name, we call her, Tony. It's not a, so what are you saying? Tim is discriminating against you because you're a female?
Wow.
He just hired a female, and he has two other female managers work. He's got more females than
I was going to say, you had directly reporting to you more women.
Nonsense, but that's where I was like, you know what, I'm out. I said, I'm not ever, you just got to be very careful.
God, no, it's as my mom said to me when I was visiting her this past weekend, the world's turned into one big eggshell.
You're right.
You never know. You're going to step on something, right? Boy, the big eggshell.
And you and I, listen, over the years, we've been doing this 12 or 13 years. I've said lots of stupid things, probably. I've said things that have been inappropriate. I don't mean them in terms of, trying to offend somebody. But you and I have been called out a number of times. We used to call Katie and
Sweet Caroline.
And the girls. How are the girls doing today?
The girls.
You misogynistic. The boys in the booth. We've been yelled at for calling the boys.
Although the boys in the booth are very popular.
They are very popular, but we You
guys have a sub-fan club.
Hey, Garrett. How come we didn't know you have your own show?
I don't know.
Whoa. You want to tell us a little bit about it or what?
It's just a show. Everyone has their own show nowadays. Are you a person if you don't have your own podcast? Really?
Garrett, how true. Are you a person if you don't?
Is there a theme? Do you talk about anything in particular? Like us?
No,
just going
it's even called To Be Determined. Like whatever we feel like talking about.
It popped up in one of my feeds, and I looked and I thought, how do we not know this?
Nicely done, Garrett. TBD.
Yep.
To be determined.
Yep.
Do you
Brilliant.
enjoy it?
It's fun. It's annoying prepping for it and stuff like that.
Can you find it, or do you have to pay for it?
Yeah, you have to pay for it.
Oh, okay. Well, so if you want to pay for it, contact us. We'll tell you how to
There's a
contact
few
Garrett.
clips on YouTube, though.
Okay.
Congrats. I think it's fantastic. I love the name.
TBD.
Well, you totally let yourself off the hook. I mean, there is always prep involved, but my expectation is, I don't know, it's to be determined. When we tune in, we may learn about, something new, but it's to be
Seinfeld's
determined.
a show about nothing.
I was thinking the brilliance of To Be Determined was the Seinfeld model.
Yeah.
What it's about? It's nothing.
Which was always about something.
All right, so what caught your eye, Mr. Bennett?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
This came from a listener, John, in New Jersey, John R. I won't give his last name, although I don't think he'd care, but it came from one of our listeners sent this to me. And the headline is, did Virgin Atlantic subtly change its new LGBTQ flying icon aircraft livery to avoid a homophobic backlash? So, this is...
Thank you, John, right?
So Virgin Atlantic used to always use females, very buxom kind of
almost like
pinups.
Almost like on the front of a sailing ship.
Right, the pinups, and they said they always use Virgin Atlantic did nothing to tone down its essentially the gender inequality. Like they always use females, so they decided they're going to use all these new icons. So they took delivery of all these new Airbus A350-1000 aircraft, and they've decided to put on these new, what they're calling flying icons that represent a more modern and diverse range of men and women. So
Tim put up a very funny graphic.
So if you go to the one in the far left, so that's apparently the upper left
with the rainbow.
It's got a
leotard.
rainbow leotard on. Now I don't think you even need the leotard to know that's a gay. You?
Tim, if that wasn't profiling, me too,
come on,
me four.
You boys, now would you fancy, fussy, what?
I mean, without the rainbow shorts, I don't know if I would have figured it out.
Yeah, it just looks like Superman without the rainbow shorts.
Oh, really? See, I
like
thought
that
Super
I
gay
like-
man.
I like
frosted hair, boys.
I like their innocent take. I like
see
their
the
comic
frosted
book
hair?
take. I didn't. Oh, he is frosted. It's tips.
Because if you look at the other
tips
ones
done.
now, so now you look at the other ones. I think there's another guy to the right of that they're using. He's
Now, he looks like
person
he's
of
with
color.
American Ballet Theater.
a person, and then you go down, and there's a couple of women I think that they're using. So this is going to be all the livery on the planes. So the guy in the one of the icons, the male figure that we showed, his name was Rainbow. And he was an LGBTQ figure wearing a cutoff leotard with rainbow-colored shorts.
Wait. We're going to hit the pause button. They named the icon Rainbow.
Rain, one word, bow.
Okay.
So he was in this cutoff leotard with the rainbow-colored shorts. And so they had produced all these. The agency produced it. They said these were based upon the famous Varga girl artwork that they used to do that was made famous during World War II of the Flying Ladies.
That's true, yeah.
They were updating this with these new icons. So when Virgin Atlantic took delivery of the aircraft, Rainbow was even registered. This is October 2019. They registered the plane as GVPRD, or Virgin Pride. But when the plane showed up, if you go to the next one there, look to the right, look what they did with Rainbow.
They put him in clothes, I think.
So he's right there. That replaced the guy in the leotard. So everybody's all tuned up about what happened to the guy in the leotard with the frosted hair. They've got a guy in a Oxford shirt and denim, right?
Maybe Bonobos paid for it. Maybe they're Bonobo.
So
What's that company? Untucked? Untucked bought the.
Sources
bought
claim
Rainbow.
that Virgin made the change deliberately as to not offend some customers in certain markets that might be offended with such an obvious LGBTQ reference. In many cases, Virgin flies to countries where homosexuality is still illegal, so the thinking is that this design was made to avoid any homophobic backlash. The
But
design change.
for those in the know, wink, wink, Rainbow.
Rainbow. Not so. This is what people speculate. Not so, says Virgin, pointing out that the leotard wearing Rainbow was just an early iteration of the design and that they made subtle changes along the way. And the flying icons were released initially, and they were going to introduce the final images on the planes actually when they arrived. So while the designs may have changed slightly, the concept really is still the same. We're going to show a diverse range of men and women who represent modern Britain. That's the press release. So
So that's going to be I have a new podcast. It's in line with. It's going to air after TBD.
what's it going to be?
Determined. It's going to be called DBC. Design by Committee.
Committee, exactly.
Because don't tell me that wasn't designed by committee. Like, it's so broken.
Yeah.
Rainbow has nothing to do with this guy holding the flag on the front of the plane. And by the way, has nobody ever complained about the fact that every flying craft, every sailing vessel is often referred to as a she? She's a great ship, right?
Yeah.
No one ever says he's a great ship.
Great ship.
It's always she's a great vessel
yeah,
or she's a
that's
great ship.
So that was change of icons.
Thank you, John.
What do you
That was a
think?
good listener.
Don't you think they obviously? The Virgin's saying no. It's just we just showed you early designs.
This is one of those weird ones where the thought counts, and then you say ... or ellipses. I guess ? Like the thought counts.
For anybody doing LGBTQ marketing, or as John and I call it, gay marketing, you don't need rainbows,
No, you don't.
right?
It's the most obvious thing that people go to. Let's do the rainbow.
How many times did we see people try to copy our work and it was rainbow, 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 rainbow?
Not to any good effect. We discovered with the Subaru campaign that it was language was the key. Yeah. But of course, there was a whole bunch of things that interlocked with that. All right, what caught my eye is a TikTok video. I do not do the TikTok.
What's the TikTok?
It's kind of a platform.
Why are you laughing?
I'm going to say, get back to me on TikTok, TBD. Oh, Garrett, that's so brilliant. To have the boys in the booth be as good as they are and to always be on top of their game, I tell you. So,
Do they know what TikTok is?
you guys know what TikTok is?
Yeah.
What is
It's a
it?
video
Heard of it,
platform.
yeah.
It's like Vine or Twitter or Instagram.
What's Vine?
So, is it short form, though? Is it like have to...
No.
Like Snapchat?
No, Snapchat evaporates after a while. But Vine,
But same type of thing. You make posts and people that follow you can see them.
Do you do any of that stuff?
I do Instagram. I look at Instagram and follow Twitter.
He has a show on the network. He does. He does videos on that.
he better be doing something.
Are you going to get your own show?
Yeah, someday.
Okay.
Yeah,
At some point.
So I'm sorry.
All right. So a mathematician. Well, actually, he's a consultant, but a gentleman named Humphrey Yang, 32-year-old e-commerce consultant in San Francisco, has a very popular TikTok, his thread, and he often deciphers complex math ideas using simple analogies. And in this case, about 3 weeks ago, he did one where he took and he wanted to show people what $1 billion is, or 100 million, or a million, in terms of like a grain of rice. Oof. So he would say, okay, this grain of rice equals $100,000. This many grains would equal $1 million. It went viral, and then he did the next thing, which is he decided to show you how much rice, like what was Jeff Bezos's worth in rice. Now, Steve has the clip.
That's 1 billion
in his mathematical world of. So I think we're going to play the video to have him
10,000
describe.
grains of rice, where each grain of rice was $100,000. And that was to show you the scale of $1 billion. Well, a lot of you guys asked me, well, how much does Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos have in terms of rice? So that was my mission. I went to Target, I bought a digital food scale, I came home, and then I weighed the rice that was worth $1 billion from earlier. I did the math in my head, and I went to Costco. I got the rice, I brought it home, and once I brought it home, I went to work. I also want to say that I have 5 families that are going to take this unused rice, so it's totally not wasteful. Okay, so the moment you've been waiting for, 100K, 1 million, 1 billion, Jeff Bezos has 122 of these, or 58 pounds of rice.
Oh my.
If each grain of rice was 100K. Like, look how big this is, guys. I'm going to show you this.
That's how much money Bezos has?
I'm going to put a keyboard in just for fun. Look how deep that goes.
Why doesn't he pay off debt?
This is Jeff Bezos'.
Oh.
So what he then does is he takes off a couple pieces of rice and he says, this is what his latest house is worth. So you have this pile that's like, I think it was, how much did it weigh here? 38 pounds or something. Isn't that astounding?
I thought they were broke.
No.
How come they don't pay taxes? Someone said Elizabeth Warren said they don't pay any tax.
Well, there are many corporations actually that long list that paid.
So he himself has that, or is that what Amazon's worth?
That is what Jeff Bezos is worth. His personal fortune. He's the richest man in the world. Bill Gates, but Jeff Bezos, he is one of the richest.
Another thing he didn't do. He started this with a card table in his garage, didn't he?
Yeah,
Shipping
selling
stuff.
books. And there was a recent article about
selling books.
The first time that Bezos met with a bunch of Harvard Business School. They were doing an MBA program, and he presents to them the idea of Amazon, and they're all sitting there like, "Hey, guy, we got an idea for you. It's coming right from the Harvard Business School." And he's like, "What?" He goes, "Sell the Barnes & Noble quick, because you're not going to make it." And look what you got now, right? So this guy. As I said, his name is Humphrey Yang, 32-year-old e-commerce guy. He does these videos on TikTok. And look at, I think, is that Garrett or John put that up? Or Garrett or Steve? That's Amazon's first office, I think. Probably like a...
What was that? What year was that, we think? 1990?
Guys, that was like 90-something, right?
Look at all the cords.
Yeah.
It's a horrible logo.
But what a great way
94.
94. What a great way to represent... To get people to understand the scale of wealth, where one little kernel of rice equals $100,000, and then Bezos has 38 pounds of rice. Now, by the way, the guy that did the video was quick to point out that no rice was harmed in the making of the video, and he donated it to a local food bank when he was done.
He handled it all.
I guess it was pre-coronavirus. Yeah.
I look at these people like these Bezoses in this Facebook argument, and again, I'm going to yell at you because you have a lot of ideas, and I would like you to come up with one.
I have
Solve a
plenty
problem.
of ideas. I just don't,
Well, I think we all would have laughed and said, "Are you kidding me?" Right?
Yeah. Well, like the Harvard Business School guys, you're going to sell books online. You better merge with Barnes & Noble because they'll eat you alive. And look what happened, right? Look what happened. Anyway, time to move on to business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
This guy won't make it on a business birthday book, but it's his birthday today. Richard Marvin DeVos Sr., born March 4th, 1926, died September 6th in 2018 at 92. He was an American billionaire businessman, co-founder of Amway.
I always
Also
thought of-
owner of the Orlando Magic basketball team. He's the 60th wealthiest person in les États-Unis and the 205th richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of $5.1 billion, so 20% of what Bezos has.
Wow.
Amway. Now, do you, so out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, big Amway there. It's one of these, pyramid.
Literally,
sales.
I was going to just say to you, isn't this the whole idea of you're bumping up to
Tupperware.
managers ahead of you, and it's basically like a
I sell you detergent. I sell your friend's detergent. Then I'm going to convince you to sell it. Now I'm a director, and I've got
Exactly.
you selling detergent. To
and
everybody.
I'm kicking back a little cut for you. Yeah.
I mean, it works, right? Like the Shakely vitamins or whatever, but it's hard work. They started at 1959 as a multi-level marketing business to distribute cleaning products. Now, I knew when I lived in Portland, Oregon, I knew a lot of people that had Amway products. I never used them, but they swore by them. So they would use them for detergent or soaps or, household cleaning stuff.
there's a
You know anyone who uses Amway?
I knew many years ago a couple people who actually sold it. I never got into it or to use the products, but that does open up a whole big story about where they're sourcing the stuff from, because it's all private label, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure you're exactly right. I can imagine. Or it could be it's something else that's rebranded Amway, right? And
I doubt they own their own manufacturer, because they have a lot of products.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So you might recognize the name DeVos because our Secretary
As
of
in Betsy?
Education, that's his daughter-in-law. This is her father-in-law. She married DeVos's son,
Okay.
Richard Jr., as far as I understand. They've given, though, a lot of his money away, although not to causes that are helpful to anybody other than very, very conservative Christian entities. Big supporter of Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich. Characterized people with AIDS as wanting special treatment and was a dedicated opponent against marriage equality.
That's why he's never going to be in the...
You're not going to exist, And so he died at 92 in Ada, Michigan.
That was not one of your usual jolly business birthdays.
Well, you know what? There were, some days it's hard to find birthdays. This one wasn't, I could say more about him, but not interested.
Hey, and that's your right, because it's your show.
We're not interested in any more about him, are we?
No, but because
Amway founder.
Amway.
I'm going to get you some Amway detergent or something.
Get me some glass cleaner. Some to really put it to the test. Put the two Windex and Amway together. Hey, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group, and we would invite you to go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo, which is called Sharky. It's a shark, but I'll do a pirate. Arr, the shark! It's Shark Madness site-wide sale. That's kind of like she sells seashells by the seashore. It's a hard one. So, Tim, on site-wide, we love site-wide sale because we have free range. We can go anywhere we want. What'd you pick?
We have free reign, and when I went so if you go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the logo, the first thing that popped up for me, they had a bunch of categories for the shark-wide sale, and one of them was British. So I clicked on it and poked around, and I found this set. It's a box set, gift set, special edition with 10 discs. It's called Absolutely Fabulous, absolutely all of it.
That
so
means
you save.
That means beyond the first 3 seasons we know.
So it's everything. So you save 36%. It is $102.45, but you get everything.
Not that bad.
So it says, indulge yourself in the excess that's absolutely fabulous with this must-have release containing all 5 seasons, specials, loads of lovely bonuses, including exclusive interviews between the producers and directors. Also, the first 3 seasons have had a bit of work done, and they've been remastered. The very special DVD collection comes in a super luxe and limited edition faux iguana skin clutch handbag, complete with animal
Perfectly, absolutely fabulous,
complete with an animal look print metallic liner. So I love AbFab.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those, though, and what I like about on the DVD or on Blu-ray, either or, is that the dialogue is quick.
You put up subtitles.
And you have sometimes because you miss a
Taught
lot.
me that,
Yeah.
especially with the British accent sometimes, or Cockney, like you could actually read it perfectly.
It's just wind's coming wash. I'm like, what? And everybody's laughing. I'm like, what did I miss?
Who I would do that for? Remember Patsy had the editor named Magda?
Oh yeah,
And she would come in. She was
Like a
some kind of
Cockney or something.
And she was like a known British comedian. And she would come in and she would, and you would be, what did she just say? Multiple viewings got you to figure out what she said.
Ray Gardens, we do subtitles too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you can get it all.
Good choice. Okay, so I went in a different direction. I believe, and I think Lauren told us that Deep Discount, I think, has the widest range of LPs
Yep, music.
available. And, you know, the other day we were talking about, Bob and I were talking about music and how much we miss the ability to say, I want to listen to this. And this was flipping through your albums. And I want to listen to this based on the cover or whatever. So I thought, if I'm going to get a turntable, which is probably a USB thing, it would be fun to build a collection back of my absolute favorite albums from the 80s and the 90s, and you know, the ones that we interacted with because it was an album. So I picked two things: the Talking Heads' "Fear of Music," which is one of the albums that I was introduced to Talking Heads. In fact, Bob confessed to me that "I Zimbra," one of the tracks off "Fear of Music," was the very first time he heard and fell in love with the Talking Heads. But that particular
Is
album,
that one of their first albums, or
it's the second or third. It's it's released on August 3rd, 1979. It's their third studio album, so it's the third album. Brian Eno was one of the producers. He worked with David Byrne on that and the Talking Heads. It hit number 21 on the Billboard charts back in the day, and it's still one of my
I
favorites.
wonder what hit did it have it hit on it?
Life During Wartime.
Oh, that's one of my favorite songs.
I Zimbra and Cities was the three big
Life
hits.
During Wartime, I love that song.
And the other album I would buy at Deep Discount, other LP, is Gaucho, which is the seventh studio album by Steely Dan. It was the very first time I was introduced to the band, and I used to work with a woman at Marshall's, brand names for less, named Dot. And Dottie said to me one day, she heard I bought the album. Oh, John, she said, welcome to Steely Dan. She goes, when you hear that music, don't you just hear don't you feel the Santa Ana winds blowing over you? And then she handpicked each album I had to listen to going backward.
Yacht rock.
Yeah, you know, it's funny how our formative years in music are often dictated by who's around us, right? And who's recommending stuff.
So every time I hear that, I hear anything from Steely Dan, I think of you.
Oh yeah, I'm totally.
It's you.
Yeah, it's totally Steely Dan. So I picked those two albums, and the release this week is a movie called Dark Waters, and it's inspired by a shocking true story of a tenacious attorney played by Mark Ruffalo uncovers a dark secret that connects a growing number of unexplained deaths to one of the world's largest corporations. In the process, he risked everything: his future, his family, and his own life to expose the truth. Now, I saw this advertised. It has a pretty good cast, I think. And I wonder, like, this is the category of movie, it reminds me of Watergate almost,
Yeah.
or, you know, that kind of thing.
Was it based on a true story? Did you say?
Apparently, yeah. Dark
I'll
Waters.
have to see it. Dark Waters. So, hey, head over to focusgroupradio.com, click on the Deep Discount logo, start shopping away. It's the Shark Madness site-wide sale. I picked AbFab, absolutely all of it. John picked two great LPs, Fear of Music by the Talking Heads and Gaucho by Steely Dan. And the new release this week is Dark Waters on Blu-ray. What do you have to say, Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a couple of shop talks we want to share with you, so stay with us. What are you laughing at?
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our site. You'll find everything out about us there, including all the audio and video we have, and our Tuesday podcast called Unbuttoned on top of this podcast. And a free shout out to Garrett in the booth for his show called To Be Determined.
TBD.
I think it's brilliant. I love the name.
Maybe you'll be a guest one day.
Ooh, that's to be determined. See how that works? See
have
how
guests?
brilliant that is?
You have guests?
We do Skype guests.
That's so Garrett. With the hope they don't show.
Well, in the world of coronavirus, you're being very smart, too. Keep them at an arm's length,
Yeah.
especially if they're coughing or sneezing. Hey, let's take Billy here. Billy Kittner's calling in. Billy, how are you, sir?
Is this the Tim Bennett show?
Tim Bennett? Why would you say that?
Oh, just a little hint of sarcasm. Hey, what you were saying before about the rainbow, that would be good on Cape Cod's Cape Air's flight, right?
Oh, my God. Billy, totally. The Cape Air would be a perfect mascot for Cape Air because
They
it's
just
perfect.
got new airplanes. They got $2.1 million TechNams. I don't know how they'll ever pay them off.
2.1, what was that you said?
They're called TechNams. They're a twin-engine high wing, and they're replacing their fleet, and they're $2 million a piece.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're going to be fancy.
How many people do they, what's it, 6 people, 8 people? How many are in a plane?
I think it's still going to be weight dependent, but probably 6. But, like their old Cessna 402, people have to weigh their luggage.
Right. John used to fly. In
Yeah,
Cape
Billy,
Air.
I once I was co-pilot, or I sat in the co-pilot seat one time, and I knew the pilot actually, a South African guy, from Johannesburg, super nice. I had an amazing flight because sitting up by the pilot's a lot of fun. And as we were landing, he started to talk to the tower and do all this stuff, and he actually got kind of nervous. And we landed, and the plane went down the runway, and then he turned off onto the grass. And the plane stops, and we go up a little hill, and everybody had to get out really quickly. And I'm like, what's going on?
Were you landing at the Cape, or was
we were at P-Town, and apparently there had been something. He had problems with one of the rudders, so even though he could land straight, he couldn't hold it enough, and that's why the plane actually curved left. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense to me.
And
but then I'm a flyboy. I know these things.
Yeah,
I'm going to get a podcast.
Are you going to do a podcast on flying?
Sure, why not? Everybody else does. They're having a identity issue now at the Lambda Car Club, going to the identity of letters and numbers. They extended the LGBTQ to more letters now in Lambda because they say that if Lambda is Google for a car club, it doesn't come up quick enough for the young people to notice that there's a gay car club to join. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So what are they going to do?
I guess National's even done it. They've gone to not just LGBT, it's gotten so many. It might as well be A, B, C, D, F, G.
Yeah.
They extended the whole thing of a gamut of letters and acronyms for each variety of gay life and queer and everything else that a lot of the old members have been bitching. They don't like all these letters in the name of the club.
Well, when you measure everything, you get nothing. That's my opinion.
And naming it like that, like I understand what Lambda Car Club is. I don't need that to be redefined. It's
or gay news.
Well,
Gay
there
news
you
is
go.
going to probably have stories about women, and we'll have stories about trans people and It's gay news.
Yeah, you would assume, right?
Their logic is, how do we recruit younger members to the club? So let's re-identify ourselves. So, we'll come up in a Google search.
Yep, it's I'm sure a lot of organizations are actually facing this because how do you appeal to someone who's only doing tapping and clicking and sliding on the screen?
Well, originally we had the pink triangle.
Yeah, that's right. Now, that's right. You got rid of that.
Well, I would think if you're a classic or a car aficionado, hopefully you're a little more aware of what's going on and you search it out, right? I don't know.
I would hope.
Maybe I'm
Get
being
yourself a
polite.
big old Cadillac with fins and you're ready to
Exactly.
go.
We're going to get on with the show, Billy.
Exactly.
Thank you for calling, my friend.
I'll catch you later.
All right,
Billy.
take care. All right, we have 2 really quick shop talks for you. One of them, we found both because we're intrigued by this. The first one is about Proptronics. I'll just give the name out. So if you've been in a furniture display store or something, and IKEA, you're walking around and there's a 60-inch TV on display or a laptop on a desk, more often than not, in fact, usually 100% of the time in those stores, they are mock-ups or plastic things called Proptronics. I remember years ago, the very first time I went and picked up a Proptronic VCR and realized it was a hollow piece of plastic, and I could not stop laughing at this because this is fantastic. So apparently, Proptronics came about because there was a company outside of Chicago or in the Chicagoland area who used to manufacture fake PCs, but they were like cardboard boxes. But then someone stole the idea and started making plastic stuff, right?
So they said that the center of this universe of these fakes resides in Chicago. What I thought was one of the funniest lines, they said, a December 1983 PC Magazine article recommended as a holiday gift that you buy one of these fake computers to have your friends and family think you actually purchased a computer.
Isn't that great?
I love that. I love that.
It was made by Box Props. So there's a couple of companies that were doing this. There was some consolidation in the industry, and now there's really this one left that still does it. And they do things like iPads, and sometimes you'll walk around an IKEA and you'll see an iPod in a charging station but pick it up, it's a piece of plastic, right?
What I loved about this, again, we talked about marketing lessons. These guys had a furniture store, they had empty shelves or whatever, because they said they used to also before do things like fake encyclopedias, but they would.
That was another one,
right? But if you had
a row of plastic fake I love it.
But if you had a cabinet that you wanted for a TV, rather than getting an old broken TV, they saw a need and they came up with this idea for a company. I think it was brilliant. First time I did see it was at IKEA, and I remember I did the same thing you did. I thought, wow, they've got all these electronics in here. And they're just plastics.
Hollow plastic.
They said the business has changed, right? So now as brick and mortar seems to be going away and people buy online, now what's happening?
Well, now people are going online to buy some of this Proptronic stuff. In fact, one of their hot sellers is a fake bag of M&Ms. Did you see the picture?
Yeah.
Did you go to the site and see the picture? So what is the...
They say they're going now. So now the business has evolved as not so many stores... people don't have the brick and mortar as people go online. So now a lot of their new clients are home stagers, home builders, and realtors. So if you're going to look at a model home...
Staging.
Yeah, home staging. So you would...
I had to move faster through my notes here. Yeah, so staging. So I just love when I found the article, I think it was in what was the name of the magazine it was from? It was such a funny thing to me that someone actually thought about writing about it. And I'm so glad they did, because I think the site you can go to, by the way, is Props America, and you could find a $12 bag of fake M&Ms and, of course, a laptop. And they have such variety of uses. But, boy, what a funny little world that is, right?
Now, M&Ms, I wondered about that because I thought somebody could eat those.
Well, it's a mold.
I thought they were loose.
When you pick that thing up, it's one big thing. So that if you go to Props America and you look for the M&Ms, they're pouring out of a bag. But if you pick that whole, it's one thing. It's one solid thing.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And the other story that we teased at the very top of the show is fascinating because everybody's heard of Casper or all these. Purple, yeah, like all these companies that send you a bed in a mattress in a tube or a box. And I don't know how they get it in there, but the minute it's out for good. You can't put it back in the box.
It's out for good.
I mean, really, right?
You get a king or a queen mattress, right?
So it turns out that, when we all buy online, we don't necessarily try the product. So what happens if you bought something medium firm and you decide you want it to be firmer? Well, it turns out that many of these companies almost basically say, give it away, we'll send you a new one, because them returning it is such a big problem, right?
Well, return it's a problem because it's no longer in the little tube that
Correct.
It came in.
Yeah.
I guess it's been used and slept on because you can sleep on them long term, so maybe there's that issue. But I do know Mattress Firm in a few places when I was looking for mattresses. They sell used stuff that people did. You can get it for pennies on the dollar. Somebody tried it out and didn't like it after 30 days, and they got rid of it. What I was shocked about when I read this was what the markup must be. Because if you pay $1,000 for one of these and you say, you know what, I didn't like it, well, donate it or do something with it. We'll send you another one. So what is the markup on this? And the other thing I kind of called BS on was they said that taking items like this back costs too much money to sort, repackage, blah, 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 blah. But I thought, how is that any different than if I bought something 20 years ago and returned it to a store? So somebody still has to clean it and repackage it. Now you don't have the brick and mortar, and you don't have all the employees you're paying working a showroom floor. So to me, it can't be that much more money.
Well,
it would be less.
And what Tim's citing is this thing in here. It says, when items come back to a retailer, an average retailer, They have to be sorted and repackaged, which costs money, and retailers might not be able to resell them at full price. How much are you willing to pay for margins so slim? So that goes to your comment of how can the margins be that slim if in 3 paragraphs down, get this, returning the unwanted mattress really just meant something more along the lines of, quote, we'd prefer you donate it, but do what you want with it. So that's not a slim margin if they're sending you into, although maybe it's in the math, because apparently the return rate used to be somewhere around 13% back in the day, but now return rates are as high as 66%. So they either factor that in to every product sold. So what would that be like? 1 out of every 9 or 1 out of every 14, whatever the thing is, we know we're going to have to eat that wholesale because by the time we replace it, So this guy who wrote the article because he went on Craigslist one day to find a piece of furniture or something, and he saw 4 identical listings for mattresses for the Purple brand, actually, and they all used the same picture. And then he realized that a company actually was at the other end of this. They take these. It's called ShareTown. So he's at the other end of these identical ads. He found an independent agent for a new kind of company that's aiming to solve the mattress company's problem and reduce landfill. ShareTown, it works kind of like Uber and Lyft. A mattress company contracts with ShareTown to handle returns, and when one pops up, ShareTown connects the customer with a nearby agent who takes the mattress off their hands. That sounds great, but that really doesn't work well, according to this, if you're in California or New York, like especially New York City. And in those situations, they literally try to hook you up with a non-profit or a place to donate it to, right?
See, I thought this was another brilliant. This person obviously saw a need because the companies aren't taking
talking about
it back.
the Tuft and Needle?
No, the guy that's taking the mattress, because he's reselling them, and then he's making money, right? So he created a business out of. So you have a mattress, you don't want it.
So is his cost zero?
It's a zero.
So his acquisition cost is zero except for time and energy to get the mattress.
He goes and you don't want your mattress.
He comes pick it up.
You call Purple. Purple says contact John Nash at ShareTown. You go and you pick it up. You do whatever. You throw the ad on Facebook or Craigslist. You sell it. You give Purple 10%, and you're done.
And your margin's even better than.
You didn't even have to buy the inventory, and you don't have to hold it. Really, I don't know. I thought it was pretty smart.
So there's another one of these mattress brands called Tuft and Needle has developed an in-house logistics system and partners with a network of over 250 partner charities. And what they do is this: when a customer wants to return a mattress, Tuft and Needle sets them up with one of those partners, and only processes the refund to the customer when the upload of a picture of the donation receipt is received by Tuft and Needle. I thought that was kind of clever.
And then it said some of these charities won't take used mattresses.
Right.
I mean, this is a little different, but for God's sakes, people sleeping on the street in the cold and you're worried about a used mattress. What do you do at a hotel? Every time you go to a hotel, aren't you on a used mattress?
Yeah. Well, as in, it could have been used 7 hours ago, right?
Every time you go to a hotel, you're on a used mattress.
Yeah, and
so all of a sudden now shelters don't want a used mattress?
They should,
the Four Seasons used.
I don't mean to be crude, but some of the shelters should check out some porn videos because a lot of these are shot in hotel rooms, and you talk about a used mattress.
Are they really shot in hotel rooms?
Oh, yeah. Come on. Are you crazy? I was looking at one the other day. I thought, that's the Aventi Hotel right here on 6th.
No!
They had the guys in front of this vista of going uptown. I'm like, that's the church. I
Only
knew
you would be paying attention.
It was 6th Avenue. Well, hey, wait a minute.
Oh, look at the bike.
As you say this,
oh, those are bad drapes.
That reminds us of Lurid Digs.
Lurid Digs, which is no longer.
No. Say it.
Oh no, they closed down a few years ago, but they did start a Facebook page. Which again, how we got knocked off of Facebook for one little comment versus Lurid Digs was on Facebook.
Are they still there?
I don't know. It was it's LURIDDIGS, Lurid Digs, and the website I think is still there. But the guy who ran it there's been no more posted. It's like Kim Jong Il looking at things.
Okay.
I think there is a Kim Jong Un looking at things.
Yeah,
but
Tim's talking about a site he turned me on to called luriddigs.com, and basically this guy would take profile pictures or pictures that people publicly had on these like
Tinder or
Grindr. And he would literally critique not the person, but everything around them.
Which was hilarious.
Well, especially there was one of my favorites was some guy wearing a leather mask and all this paraphernalia, but the entire room was all flowers and teddy bears, stuffed bears, purple pillows, a flower bread spread, and this guy's wearing this mask and something else. It was so incongruous. And then he would have
picture of grandma behind him. He wouldn't know. He'd be mortified.
And then sometimes they would have these guys write these really hilarious critiques, like, "I love that mid-century modern table."
Is this one of them here?
That's the. Oh yeah, look at all that stuffed animal.
Is Lurid Dig still up?
No, there was an article in 2017 about what he's doing now.
There it is, luriddigs.com.
Yeah.
So it's not. So the site's still not there. Look, what is that one? Little ducks.
Garrett, what are those ducks in the background?
It's a duck collection. You know, it's his mom. His mom collects like rubber duckies or something. That's her bathroom.
Garrett, you guys are so fast on that.
Or his wife's collecting rubber duckies.
Yeah,
and
wife, I don't know.
She's gone for the weekend with the girls.
So the guy looks like one of the guys from the Village People, right? With the hat on, the whole thing. Well, I'm being,
old Village People.
Well, YMKA.
He had a couple friends that look like that.
And then he's got the jock strap on, but it's okay.
I would love
for
to
work.
read the critique there. There's probably exactly
Yeah.
as Garrett said. Mom collects rubber ducks, and unfortunately, there's been too many that have been of the same thing, and she had to figure.
There was one Lurid Digs one where in the background there was a stack of tissues, like it was like Kleenex with aloe or something, and one of the writers said something like, someone should go tell them that they're wasting their money on aloe infused tissues. I mean, nothing to do with the person or what they were doing in the picture, but
that's what the brilliance of it was. I used to. Oh God,
I don't know. We got off track because Tim basically said every mattress in a hotel has been used.
Well, when I read something like this, it says the homeless charities or they denied the mattress because it was used. I'm thinking, what is a hotel mattress?
It's used every
Think
day.
about it next time you're at a hotel, right?
Or
also, don't touch the remote.
Oh my God! There was an article about how germy the remote is, right?
The remote's the most disgusting thing. Someone's in there with their hand down their pants watching TV, and then they're playing with the remote. And the first thing you do is you walk in the hotel room, you click on the remote. First thing I do is I go and I get a washcloth. You make the water as hot as I can be, and I wipe everything down. Some pig in the room before me.
This reminds me. A quick story. We were test driving the all-track wagon, VW all-track wagon, which
Seattle, right?
We were Seattle to Denver, and we were near Yellowstone. No. Mount Rushmore. Bob was with us on the trip, and Bob was kind of our photographer, and he was great. Well, we go to breakfast that morning, and Tim is there before us, and he's having a cup of coffee. We come in, like maybe a couple minutes after you got there, and I was like, "How'd you sleep?" "Sleep? You slept?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I slept on top of that. I didn't even put the sheets
disgusting.
down." Tim you didn't even take off your clothes.
No, it was disgusting, and I wouldn't take my shoes off. I wouldn't walk on the floor. It was such a dump. And the funny thing was they had Beekman Boys products. That was what the irony with that thing was.
Soaps and shampoos.
We had mold around and ratty. I'm like, Beekman Boys. What a marketing product placement. Anyway, that place was. I can't believe you slept.
Well, to be fair,
you had a back room.
We
right on the highway.
We were on the highway, and I knew that we were going to be getting into like sandpaper. The sheets had that very
and the most
starchy.
expensive place we stayed.
It was the most expensive.
You and I found on road trips. We stay at these kind of one-off, independent, expensive places, and they're dumps. Versus
what you're missing.
We showed up in Denver at that Homewood Suites or something. We thought we were in paradise. Remember, because we actually had a real shower.
That was the day. That was the day we did Carhenge.
Yeah.
On the way to Denver.
Nebraska.
Oh my God, that was so funny. But your reaction to that, the previous trip you and I did in the VW Beetle cross country, every morning was the review of the hotel, and we had great hotels except
the last one,
that Inn of the
which was outrageously expensive
and recommended by listeners.
NSA. Hey, listen. By the way, before we say goodbye, I was going to ask you about this. I'm going to put you on the spot. We talked about this. I don't know. Would you take a train from New York City to Seattle? Train trip? 10 days.
I'm not so sure. I love trains. But I got to tell you something.
I just saw.
Well, I'm imagining.
It goes from here to Chicago.
Oh, yeah, and it goes via some.
And then from Chicago, it goes up toward Minneapolis,
and it does the northern,
or Wisconsin, and then it goes through North Dakota, Montana. The Dakotas, Montana, into.
If Amtrak
Idaho.
rolled out brand new cars, brand new sleeper cars, brand new dining cars, I'd say, hey, if I had 10 days, I'd be happy to hop on board. But, you talk about a hotel and a bed that's been slept in, those trains.
Really?
No.
They do show cabins. They have little cabins.
Oh, yeah, they can have cabins.
Because I saw the train today coming up. It's always late, the Silver Meteor or whatever it's coming from. It's from Miami.
Well, there you go. It's always late.
And I was looking in. They had all the windows and lights around. I'm looking at these little cabins. I thought you could sleep in there, I guess. I don't know if you and I could share a compartment. A lot of people are sharing compartments. One's got the top bunk. You and I are too tall, I think, almost.
Yeah, we would want the luxury of having our own little closet. Because those rooms are not big. Yeah, I want my own. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe that's another show. I'll have to talk to Amtrak, see if they'll put us in one. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. Thanks to our boys in the booth. Thank you, John. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount. It's the Shark Madness sale. Go over to focusgroupradio.com. Click on the logo. Start shopping away. I picked AbFab, absolutely all of it this week. John picked 2 albums, 2 LPs. Fear of Music by the Talking Heads and Steely Dan's Gaucho. The new release this week is Dark Waters on Blu-ray. And so be sure to go over there and check out all the stuff that's on sale at Deep Discount. Remember, don't text and drive, arrive alive. We'll see you next week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.